Hey everyone, it's the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And today we have another fun episode. Today we have Candace D'Agnolo.
Yes, that's right.
D'Agnolo.
How are you, Candace?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for jumping on with us. We're going to talk about a wide variety of stuff as we always do. Mm-hmm. But why don't you go ahead and just open it up with a little bit about who is Candace D'Agnolo?
That's a deep, big question.
Elevator pitch. You got like
elevator pitch.
Like
well,
20 seconds.
Let's see which hat will I share. So overall, I believe in local communities and kind of stepping out into the world, into your full potential to really make an impact in the circles that you run in. That's really who I am. Okay. Yeah. How I do that, though, is through a variety of ways, right? I have my professional life, which is a pet business coach. So that is where I help small business owners who work in the pet industry, right? Think your pet retailers, dog groomers, doggy daycares, pet sitters, dog trainers in these local communities, and I serve them. But then on the flip side, I also am getting into, I guess, commercial real estate purchasing and development here in Galesburg, and that's been a really fun and interesting ride. Yeah. My career has been in the pet industry, and my husband and I moved here to the area about 3 years ago during the pandemic, and we just had a baby. So that's kind of all the things.
Good. Well, you'll fit in good just at this table.
Yeah.
I think Victor and I inspired to kind of be out and about in the community, meet people, have fun, and
Great.
a wide variety of things that we can get our hands into. You mentioned real estate, commercial, residential. I mean, that's always fun, so we can go down that avenue. And who doesn't love pets?
Right.
On top of that.
Yeah.
So as soon as you talk about like different fields in the pet biz, I mean, there's people getting paid to take people's pets for walks.
Yes.
To dog sit while someone may be on vacation. They don't want to kennel the dog. It can stay at home. There's people that pop in and out of the house. I believe there's even like an app now called like Rover or something like that.
We don't really want you to use that.
I don't know anything about it, but I'm just saying, like, we were just talking before, there's a million ways to make a dollar.
There are actually, I think, over 25 that I've been able to identify, over just 25 little niches inside the pet industry.
Nice.
Whoa, that's
and
crazy.
That's not counted. Do you do any work with veterinarians?
I don't. Well, I shouldn't say I don't, because I just had a private consult yesterday with the veterinarian. But yes, we do. We could help veterinarians. They're not typically in our client base of who we serve, though. But yes.
Yeah. So who's your average person that reaches out and says, Candace, I need your help?
Well, they're a small business owner who usually is a pet supply store, like think a pet boutique, or sometimes even full line pet supply stores. My career, I've opened my own pet boutiques in Chicago, and then ended up opening a doggy daycare. We had grooming services as well, and I also had a dog walking business in Chicago. So I attract kind of the businesses that I had experience in. So the pet retailers. We do have some dog daycares. We have a lot of groomers, more so almost groomers who are, because this is a difference in the niche in the industry as well, is there's the salon owner, right? Like a grooming salon owner who is not the groomer. And then you've got someone who is a groomer doing the services and also running a salon, or you have a groomer who works for the salon. Yeah. Right? So there's all kinds of little nuances.
How was the first time someone reached out to you for help?
When was the first time?
Yeah. And how was it?
And how was it?
Yeah. What type of help they needed and how you were able to help them?
Oh my goodness. Well, that kind of goes back a ways, I guess. Well, when I first started getting into business coaching and consulting, I thought I would sell like one-on-one services. And I exhibited at a big trade show that's in Las Vegas called Super Zoo. And it's actually coming up real soon. We'll be going again. But this was back in probably 2016. I decided to invest and get this 10 by 10 booth at this big trade show. And I would try to meet prospects. And in that, what was interesting is that most people I was meeting could not afford one-on-one consults to make it worth my time to do it. I did end up finding one client who ended up being like almost like a $25,000 client over the lifetime of us working together. So it really paid off to invest all the money in that trade show. But what I found in that booth was just that there were so many people in need and they really couldn't afford the higher coaching. So that's when I designed the group coaching model, which is what we offer today at the Pet Boss Club. So when I think about the first people that I helped, I mean, I guess that first client would be the one that we really got, rolled up our sleeves and got dirty in it. But what they wanted to do is that he was in the car industry, right? He was a car salesman. His family had a car dealership. And so he knew the power of business consultants because they always had them in that industry.
Sure.
And so they had sold that company, and now he wanted to take maybe a car repair place. They own that building and turn that into a doggy daycare. But he had no idea what to do, right? They're animal lovers, had no idea what to do. And so I drove up to their location up in northern Wisconsin, and then we did design layouts. We talked about ways to utilize the lobby, ways to utilize the dogs going in and out of spaces, things to think about with kennel runs. I think they even wanted to build a pool in the doggy daycare, like a little waiting pool for the dogs to run through. So we talked about AstroTurf outside. There were a lot of things that we discussed. And it can be really overwhelming to a lot of people. One, they get into this industry because they're so passionate about the animals. Usually it's their own animals, right, that really excite them. And then they think well, how hard could this be? Right? How hard could this business thing be? They quickly realize, it's not playing with puppies all day. Mm-hmm. So
what are the main pains usually from business owners?
Main pains? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I think a lot of it does come down to the biggest problem we see is just people want to find more customers. Okay. And they're not really sure how to do that.
Sales process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's this disconnect between this physical local business and realizing that they do need to have an online digital presence. That's how they're going to find a customer nowadays. But there are huge gaps between what they're comfortable with technology-wise and how they understand things to work, versus, and even just being comfortable, creating the content, let alone know where to put it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this, I think the marketing and finding customers is one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. Okay. And then after that, it's tons of things. Business is not hard. Yeah. It is not easy.
I know a lot of people think if we build it, they will come.
Oh, right.
If one person finds out about me, they'll tell everybody.
I mean, sometimes it's if they build it, they'll come. But sure. You got to have a lot of things working in your favor when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you usually help them with marketing?
Yeah. So we talk a lot about marketing. That might be one thing. I also help them with pricing their products and figuring out how to maximize what would be the most someone might spend, right? When we look at pricing, there's the perceived value of something, and then there's, what you need to actually sell it at to turn it. So we go through pricing. We'll go through even what their systems and processes look like, right? Systems will set you free. They really will. And then once they have those in place, then it's looking at growing their team and who can support them. And again, oftentimes most people have never taken their own training on how to properly recruit, how to hire people, how to train them, onboard them, and then how to keep them motivated, right? So there's a whole other component to leadership development that I then help them with as well.
That's awesome.
So did a lot of this stuff just come from your own trial and error?
Yes.
Or did you have someone that you were kind of working with?
A little bit of both. Okay. So my journey starts from where, it actually goes way back to where when I was growing up, I had a lot of people in my life who were very supportive of the entrepreneurial spirit. There were a lot of family-owned businesses in our family, or even just people who were contractors, like my grandpa, the Italian, right? D'Agnolo, they were tile layers. So there were a lot of different self-employed people, and they all kind of encouraged me that, I could be anything, do anything, I'd be my own boss someday, right, kind of thing. So I had no fear in going and starting my own company. But along the way, what ended up happening is I realized there were so many things I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I had got myself into extreme debt. I had almost $400,000 in SBA bank loans, and I was only 28 years old. And I had three physical businesses in Chicago, 30 employees, and everything was falling apart. And the recession of 2008, 2009 was happening. And it was I realized there was a lot I didn't know, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I just knew that there was no money in the bank accounts to cover everything. At that point, it was either I need to close and file for bankruptcy, or things have got to change. And there was this lifeline from a friend of mine who was basically go to this retailer conference. I think you might like it. So I got my one-day ticket to this business conference at the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, and I went, and it was wow, there's this whole world of professional development and things that I didn't even realize about the nuances of retail.
Yeah.
And so at that point is when I started really investing in my business education. And, if we think about then 2008, 2010, like Facebook was just getting started. Like you could find things probably on YouTube or like learning, but it wasn't like it is now, right? Online education wasn't like it is now. So I started working with a business coach at that point as well, and that changed everything. And it helped me get excited again about the business, helped me make some tough decisions. And through that process then of working with someone to guide me, so I had to really still do all the work myself. So what I teach now are a combination of my own experiences, pulling myself out of that $400,000 in debt, right? Getting that paid off, and then ultimately taking a great salary and then selling the businesses along the way. I take all of those things that I've learned and I teach that to our clients now, as well as a lot of things I've learned from my mentors too.
So Candace, I got to ask you, when you got, you were feeling like you were sinking, right? You're it's now or never. And then you just mentioned you did get like a mentor or someone, a coach, if you will. Yeah. I got to ask, were you paying for that?
Yes.
All right. And the reason I ask that is because so many people, they find themselves in that situation and they're like, shoot, the last thing I can do is pay.
Yeah.
Start giving. I have no money,
right.
And now you want me to give you money,
right?
In that leap of faith.
Yes.
And I think that goes to the power to show, if you will, like you got to spend money to make money.
You do.
Now, I'm sure there's 100 other people you could have spent money with that wouldn't have got you there.
Right.
So you got to
you do have to find the right person. Yeah.
But I wanted to point that out. I was pretty sure the answer was going to be yes. You paid for it.
Yes.
But because nothing's free.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if it is free,
especially that kind of level of education, you need that.
So you made that leap of faith to continue to invest in yourself. You had been investing in yourself in that point, and maybe you weren't getting to where you wanted to be, but gosh darn it, you found the right person and the right time, and you mentally were ready to get it, and you got it.
Yeah.
Right? So
and it does start at like how I found the right person was that I started making friends within the industry. And like I would go to a pet industry trade show, and maybe one of the manufacturers we worked with was throwing a party, and at that party I just would talk to people and kind of shared what I was going through. And I found a couple who owned some pet stores in the suburbs of Chicago, and they were very nice at giving some suggestions to me on what I should do, because I was drowning, and they had also started working on their business with a business coach. And so then what ended up happening is because they were so helpful to me, I kind of found who had helped them, right? So I ended up working with their business coach. So it was that the trust was there. I knew that, okay, well, gosh, like clearly this coach or mentor has a track record of success with other people and understands my industry. So I'm willing to make this investment, because it was kind of like I need to do something. And I wasn't paying myself. I had an insane amount of debt. But what was interesting is, and I ended up just putting it on a credit card. I had no idea how I was going to pay it off. And I thought, well, we'll just...
You're already 400 something.
Right,
Let's go.
And through that process, my finances, we weren't looking at finances, and so paying attention to that. So this coach made me like get up to date on all of that, which then made me realize an employee was stealing from me, and all of these other things that were huge problems that were like just sucking me deeper into the hole that I wouldn't have uncovered and just would have given up and felt like, well, gosh, I failed at this. I don't know what I'm doing. When the reality is, once I started working on the business in the right areas and had the right support, I could take a 6-figure salary. I ended up selling one of the businesses to Bentley's Pet Stuff, which is Marcus Lemona's company. He's the Prophet from CNBC, the TV show, The Prophet. I ended up launching Pet Boss Nation, which is now we help hundreds if not thousands of people across the globe through what I've learned there. And then the doggy daycare, I grew that and was able to sell that, which changed our personal lives like financially for hopefully forever. It's crazy what like this small business who like almost like totally took me out has now set me up for success. Yeah.
I love that, because it shows, when you start investing in yourself, you get some organization. And talk about surround yourself with people, starting to go to those parties, those shows. I mean, you got to get with like-minded people, I mean, if you came to me and said, wanting Lauren to talk to you, I don't even have a pet. So like, or I don't know much about the biz. I mean, and you're asking, I feel like I know plenty about business and marketing, but I mean, God, I'm not going to be much help to you.
Yeah. You do want to find your people.
Find your circle, and good for you.
And having a mentor is extremely important in any industry.
But how cool now she's taken, you're helping other people.
Yes,
with
exactly.
That. Like, God, this is, you have to feel when you're able to see someone else's turnaround. That's got to fill you up. Yeah, it does. I
just got a message from one of our clients who is I sent her an email and it bounced back that she was out of the country on vacation, and I was like, you're out of the country on vacation? Like, where'd you go? And she's like, I'm in Croatia for 16 days and the team has everything handled. And it's like, she's a pet sitter, and I just remember, like, pet sitter, somebody has to still go walk those dogs, or cats, and do those visits. And so, but I love that she's been able to grow her business to a place where she feels so confident and comfortable to do that, because we all deserve, like, time off. Like, why are we working so hard if we can't, get the rewards from it? So for me, I was just so excited to hear that she had gotten to that place to do that. And then another one of my clients, they are expanding their one of their revenue streams, completely, like, diversifying. They have a pet treat bakery inside their retail store, and they're going to start wholesaling their cookies out to other retail locations, but she needs a bigger location than still doing it out of her little shop. So she bought a building. We taught her how to negotiate and, like, what to offer to get the price down. And so she got it for a total steal, and she's excited because she can, like, got the keys and can go, like, expand her whole new revenue stream for her. So as far as impact that we make, I feel like that's what really drives me and motivates me, is it's like the choice, the work I did, and then before in my business, and the choices I'm making now to continue to lead in this industry is having just a ripple effect and improving people's lives all over the place. And so it's fun.
That's awesome.
And their pets' lives.
Right? Because then they've improved the lives of the pets. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy what people will spend on their pets?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I thought, like, you see what people will spend and do for their children.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me because I have kids. But when you see, people, I have someone I know, they literally just dropped over $10,000 on their dog. An accident happened, and they had to have some surgery and things. But, like,
I've done that.
10,000.
I've done about 7,000.
That's what I mean. I'm like, my kid asked me for $40 at Target. I'm like, no, you're not getting that till your birthday.
Well, it's true. And you think about it too. Like, we have my old doggy daycare in Chicago. We had an unlimited monthly pass where people could bring their dog to daycare, and I charged maybe, I think, $600 a month for that. And I thought that was a lot of money, right? I was like, that's a lot. Well, I've sold that business, right? And then get through the pandemic, or I don't know, whenever. I think I was teaching my clients about doggy daycare pricing. And I just thought, well, let me go back to my old company's website and just see what they're charging now. They charge almost like $1,200 a month for the exact same service, and they still have customers. And I was like, well, you know what? They probably have less, but they're making more money. So it's, less dogs to watch, less people to maintain.
Right.
And I was like, dang, I could have been charging that much. I didn't realize it was my own limiting beliefs of what was possible, in the pricing game. So yeah, people do spend a lot on their pets. And fun fact for you is that I think it's like 70% of U.S. households have at least one dog. So there are more dogs in households than children. So the pet industry is a big industry.
So you think it's growing?
Exponentially. It's already, I don't know the exact number right now. I think it's already like maybe $160 billion industry or something like that. It's crazy. Yeah.
And mainly dogs.
The dog. Well, it's not. Yes, it is mainly dogs, but cats and horses take up a huge portion too of it. But dogs, I always like to say, dogs are more profitable because they consume and destroy on a level that, like, most other animals don't.
I love you say
consume and destroy. Yeah, highly profitable. You see that customer back frequently.
You're right. Cats aren't like chewing on your slippers, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you mess with horses too?
Well, the equine industry, I don't personally. We do have. We have clients who might have like a tack store, and then they'll sell things for the equestrian, but then also add in cat or dog. That's kind of where I would help at all, if that. But it can be a big industry too.
Yeah,
or it is, I should say.
Yeah. So what do you do with your dog if you were to go to Brazil?
I would leave with someone.
A friend, kennel, family.
I don't know. I never thought about that, but I'm going to Brazil now in December, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
For $1,200 a month.
Yeah, well, no.
Hey, your dog can stay at my house.
Right.
For $1,200 a month.
So how do you see the online education business in the next years, 5-10 years? Do you think that will be, you have competitors, for example, doing the same thing as you, going after the pet business?
Yeah, I already have competitors.
You already have. But what do you see that, everybody wants to teach online,
Yeah, everybody does.
So,
well, I'm a firm believer that there's plenty of business for all of us. And I try, even though it's hard when competitors come onto the market, I have an expression that's like eyes on your own paper, right? Stay focused, just like from the teachers, eyes on your own paper. Don't get distracted with what they're doing. Just keep pushing forward for what you have. So I do currently have competitors, and there's always going to be new people coming into the space. But it's not even just the people part. It's that just the tools, right? We have ChatGPT and all of these AI tools to make things much easier and faster. And so there might be a problem that maybe a client has of mine. They could just toss it into ChatGPT and say, how do I do this? And it just tells you how to do it. Now, the person will have more questions, of course, and then ChatGPT can't fix your mindset or help build your confidence. So, I think as far as the online coaching and e-learning world, there will always be a lot out there, but I think it just means that we have to really show how we bring the value, how we can really help people. And for us as a company at Pet Boss Nation, it's really the community piece. Going back to what I even said at the very beginning, it was bringing people together is really important, and building that camaraderie and bond, and kind of a safe space, knowing that you have people there to support you. A computer or software can never do that.
And do you have different packages or services or products for small businesses, medium businesses, and large ones? Do you have different price points?
Kind of. So, but not like how you might think. So what we have are, one of the main offerings that we have is the Pet Boss Club, which is monthly group coaching. They get an online portal as well as live workshops and all kinds of other assets. That is really for any small business owner in the pet space, but I typically help people who have 5 locations or less. So you mentioned Rover earlier, it's a larger tech company that outsources contractors. That's not a company I would work with. Or a lot of people that are not in the pet industry, when I say I work in it, they're like, oh, you help PetSmart and Petco. And I'm like, nope, that's too big box, right? That's too corporate. We don't help them. They're the bad guys. I help the little mom and pop guys. So I have small to medium, I guess, size businesses. And then at that point, though, what we look at more are the stages of someone in business, right? There's the beginning, the early stages, and then the more advanced stages. And our more advanced stages are encouraged to join the Pet Boss Mastermind, which is really it's not more content to consume necessarily. It's more access to me, and it's more access for the peers to have higher levels of conversation, right? It's not so much about the basics, where in our Pet Boss Club, we teach a lot of the basics and the how to do things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to hit on to go back a little bit. You when you're talking about eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
I've worked for a few employers, and you work there for a few years. You got understanding what we're going in. Not calling anyone out, but I'm hey, we keep doing this. It's losing us money. Why are we doing this? And they're well, our competitors do it. And if they, as long as they do it, we're going to be doing it. And I'm we're losing money. Yeah. But they're but they're doing it. And talk about that. It's so silly that so many people will get driven by
competitors.
Even if you are losing money and time, it makes no sense to continue.
Yeah.
But
it distracts you too from really what you should be working on, something that might be more profitable, but our egos get in the way, right? Our egos get in the way, and or the fear of missing out or not being included. I'm not really sure. And
it's just silly. I always found that silly. At one employer in particular, we did eventually quit doing it, and the competitor, as soon as we did, 2 months later, they were done.
They stopped.
And it's these idiots are over there going the same thing,
thinking that the consumer wanted it.
Right. No, it is losing money.
Yeah.
And not that you only make all decisions on money, but if you're in business,
it is.
You're here to make money.
Right.
Do you have more people starting their pet shop, their pet business, or more people that have already had their business for a while?
Yeah. It's interesting that's happening in the pet industry is that it became really popular to do this in the early 2000s. So at that point, now we already have businesses that have been around for 15, sometimes 20 years. But even before that, though, were a lot of the bigger pet supply stores still owned by individually owned people. And they've now been doing this 30, 35, 40 years. And they're all ready to exit. I mean, even some of the people at 15 and 20, they're thinking, because a lot of them, it was a second career change for them. Like they didn't start until they were in their early 40s or late 30s. And so now they are thinking about their exit strategies. So there are a lot of people who are ready to exit. And so if you are interested in, for your listeners, if they're interested in going into the industry, I'm sure they could find people that would be willing to sell and take over.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, because, so many people got pets during the pandemic, and there's a lot of ways to make money online now. There are a lot of newer and younger people coming into the industry also. So it's kind of a mix.
That's awesome.
Candace, what would be someone out here, I guess in a perfect world for you, a perfect customer, a client that reaches out? But who's typical? Like someone who is asking themselves blank questions, feeling a certain way. I mean, what is that when someone usually calls and they're like, hey, and they spew all of this to you? I guess just as someone out here listening and they're thinking, feeling some of that type of stuff, what are some of those thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I like to compare it to, you're on a treadmill and you're just running and you're working really hard on this treadmill, right? But you're not really going anywhere. So it's kind of, I think when you're in that state of feeling like things are a little chaotic and that you are just unsure of how to change it. Maybe things have stayed the same, or maybe they're dipping down. Like your revenue might be dipping down, or employees keep quitting, or again, going back to the customer thing, it's just where are all the customers? That's usually when people reach out to me. We also see people that are just a lot of times just completely overwhelmed and burned out. They're just wearing all the hats. They're there from very early in the morning till very late at night, and that's just not sustainable, right? 7 days a week. A lot of parts of their life are suffering because their business is taking everything. And here's the thing, your business will fill up every minute it can. Right. It can. So we, as the business owner, have to really be careful to prioritize what's important to us, because the business will suck the rest of it if you let it, right? So I see you guys are both like, yes, I understand. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that would be somebody who typically reaches out. And then there are businesses who have gotten it figured out. They were, they're successful, they're making money, and they find me, and then they're just kind of like, I'm kind of bored, and they just need to get excited again about the business. And I think by coming into our community, they get re-inspired, which is great. Of course, not everybody feels like they need a coach, even though I feel like there are parts I can see a business pretty easily and say, through a conversation, know how we can help them find these opportunities or find their gaps. But their own egos too are in play. We've already figured this all out. Everything's going great. We already run a multi-million-dollar company. I don't need to invest in a business coach. But then you find out that actually they're like, oh wait, yeah, I can learn a little bit more, right? An old dog can learn new tricks.
We can always keep learning. We know that.
Yeah.
I think that's what the top level of stupid is, when you think that you've killed it, and good for you. You got to that point, but don't for a second think that you can just shut it off.
No. I had one of my mentors along the way. She always said, and I'm not sure the original person who was that said it, but new level, new devil. Right? It's you keep growing, and it's you get yourself into a whole other circle or ring of people or a ring of problems, or ring of opportunity that you're not prepared for.
I'm gonna have to write that down.
A lot of people say, I hate coaches. I hate online coaches. People have no idea, okay, there are some people that doesn't teach you anything. That's fake people, but there's a lot that you can learn from. A lot of different people.
We were talking with Candace. There was probably 1,000 people that you could have landed, and for whatever reason, you landed the one that helped you, and now you have clients that also there's 1,000 people they could have landed. Everyone's different.
I always paid to learn from people, and I've been mastermind for 6 years already. I know the importance of the environment, of people that you're listening to, people that you talk to, the topics you talk to about. So mastermind is huge. For someone that wants to be in the industry and join her mastermind, the person will have access to hundreds of people in that same industry that's doing exactly the same thing.
And once
that's
again,
the power of it.
It would be like like I was talking earlier, if you were coming to me for pet stuff, I mean, just because I'm your friend or we might hang out every day, it doesn't mean I'm the best resource for you to be kicking ideas off of.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do.
Right. And of course, and even like, I can think of my own parents. I mean, they were very, very conservative to invest even $1 into real estate.
Right.
They've heard the horror stories, and they're out there. You can listen to whoever you want. You can seek out the information and answer good or bad. But in what worked for you, that same coach has probably gone to someone else and it didn't do him any justice. Right?
Yeah.
You got to feel out.
And I'm not perfect. I'm not right for everybody either. Sure. I'm sure I made my own mistakes too with people. And
I went to school. I got a bachelor's degree in logistics, and I never worked in logistics. The reason why I'm a co-owner here at Clear Profits, that I work with digital marketing for years, is because I joined the mastermind. I talked to mentors. I was taught everything digital marketing, being part of a mastermind group that not everybody has access to the information. Only people that pays for that. I started buying houses because of a mentor. It's always because of external influence. That's why you start doing things external. Right. What you hear from people, what you talk, places you go, who is around you. That's what makes what you do yourself,
Yeah, and I just said this to a couple older guys yesterday, and they got the biggest kick out of it. But I heard this say, if you want me to show you your future, show me your 5 closest friends.
Who you are.
And it's who you surround yourself with. You start getting with like-minded people, business focused, wanting to grow, and you get that type of support.
That's the power of mastermind. I completely get what she does, and there's a lot of value in that. Yeah, and I'm sure the reward is when people give back to you and say, hey, you really helped me. At the end of the day, their business is what brings food to the table.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have pets?
Yes, I have 3 currently. Just 3 dogs.
What do you got?
We have a lab collie mix. Her name's Clover. She's almost 15, so she's she's getting up there. And then I have a little white Pomeranian named Dory. And then I think it was last year we brought in Dante, and he's a Pomeranian mix probably, but he looks more like a raccoon. So it's kind of always a cross between a raccoon and a dog. But yeah, he's a dog.
Did you grow up with pets? Have you always?
Yeah,
had pets?
We've always had pets, and I think that I've always even I think one of my first businesses was making a flyer for pet sitting and handing it out in the neighborhood, and doing pet sits, house, babysitting and watering plants, so.
Yeah. Did you grow up with pets?
Yeah.
You had a dog and cat your whole life?
Yeah.
I think my parents lied to me. They said they were allergic to the dander. I think they just said that so we would never get one. Because I see them now as adults, and we'll go to people's houses who have pets, and I don't see them have any problems.
Yeah. Well, some people do, but most people probably don't. And then you realize, well, that's just because of their work. They're like children, they're like they.
Well, that's what's kept me from getting one. I stay on the run.
Yeah.
I don't
you have to be able to
spend a whole
home,
lot of time at home. I really don't. But that's what's kept me this whole time from getting one, or even the hey, wild hair, I'm going to go to Wisconsin for the weekend.
Right. Yeah, you can't just pick up and do that.
I don't have to go, wait, I got this 15-year-old dog, or whatever.
Yeah.
Before we jump into another topic, you mentioned dog walking, pet shops, dog sitter. Which one of those are the most lucrative in the not industry but segment?
So from my perspective, dog daycares are where the most profit can come from, but it does take time to build up your client base. So my doggy daycare, when I first opened it, and I had already had a retail store, and I was like, I've got a list, right? I have a customer list of all these people that own pets. They're going to come to my doggy daycare. Well, the people who already were using one didn't want to leave, didn't want to take their dog away from his friends at the other doggy daycare. Mm-hmm. And then so I had to wait 6 months for the new crop of puppies to come around, But and then 6 dogs turned. Well, then I think when they started coming, they were like, oh, but there's no other dogs for them to play with. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, if none of you bring me your dogs, then I'll never have. So our staff brought their dogs, and so then it was 6 dogs turned to 12 to 24, 48, 68. Then we eventually got to 120 dogs could come to this daycare. And so at that point, once you've got enough space and you have enough team to manage it, you're just selling air, play space really. So it takes a while to get there. But once you get there, then you can turn that into recurring revenue. You can do subscription packages. You can do all kinds of fun stuff, upsell in all kinds of places, and then add on boarding, add on grooming. So those facilities can make the most money. Mm-hmm. A grooming salon can make good money, but almost at the point where not until the salon owner has a lot of groomers, where like it's just like a hair salon, right? A lot of stylists working. But that's hard as well because you are managing the groomers and the stylists. And then retail is really like it's my passion side. It's what I love. It's where I got started. But the lowest margins are in retail, so you're not really making a lot of money there until you start to have multiple locations because. You can buy those products on the internet, right. So it's hard.
Mm-hmm. I've been out with friends who their dog is at a doggy daycare and they're like watching on their phone.
The cameras,
they're like, oh, look at him playing with the dog. Yep. And I can't wrap my head around that. And I'm like, in here now I know you're paying like $1,200 for this too.
Yeah. We were talking about how important dogs are for their parents. What about liability for a groomer? Like, what if you hurt a dog or if you're walking with a dog and something happens? Has something ever happened to you on that? Yeah. So, what do you do? What about insurance? Talk to us about that.
You'd have to have me come back for this, like a whole other podcast.
Do insurance. Let me hear you bring someone's dog back and it's butchered up.
So having proper business insurance is critical, not just for the pet industry, but for any liabilities everywhere, right? And it's really about how much risk you're willing to take or not take, right? So. But in the pet space, you are dealing with live animals now. Pets are still considered like property, so the value of it is only up to about $2,500. I think is what an insurance company would pay. Like, let's say if the dog died or something hurt, like that's all that the person would get for it. Now they could probably try to countersue you for emotional stress and all of the other damages that might come from that of the loss of the pet. But that would, I guess, be taken up. I guess once that happens. However, right, so your insurance will cover a lot of different things. You'll have your, the workers' comp, your general liability, a lot of different protection. But we have insurance agents that we recommend a niche in the pet industry. They're like the number one provider for just all these different niches because they fully understand what's happening. Like you could be on a dog walk out on the street and the dog bites another person on passing by on the walk. Well, who's liable for that? Is the owner of the dog or is the pet sitter liable? And so you have to talk through all of these scenarios of what your business does to the insurance agent you're working with so they can fully understand because they might not have pets, right? Like you don't have pets. So, if you were working with a pet business, you'd want to make sure that you knew what was happening, right? So as far as things that have happened to me now, I did have at one time we had a golden doodle, maybe it was a Wheaton puppy, came in for grooming and slipped, wiggling. The dog's on the table with the noose and it's wiggling all around, and slips out of the noose and jumps onto the floor. Lands on all fours. And the table's not that high, but it fractured one of its bones in its leg. So then it wasn't standing on it very well. And we called her ahead of time so the customer was prepared when she came for pickup. Customer picked it up. She's like, I got to run out of town. I'll just take him with me. And I was like, I don't think so. I think you need to go to your veterinarian. Well, her veterinarian was closed, so she had to go to the emergency vet, which costs way more. And then the emergency vet realizes that, it's broken. We got a cast. We got to do surgery. So now it's like a $4,000 emergency vet bill, and she wants us to pay for it, which is fine because it happened at our facility. But my insurance company wouldn't pay her until, and this was when I was in all my financial stresses. So I had to pay her bill on my credit card. I couldn't get reimbursed from my insurance company until she would sign something that said that she wouldn't come back for further damages. Right. And she didn't feel comfortable signing that because it was still a puppy that needed to grow up. And I was like, can I just get my $4,000 so I can pay my employees next week? That's one scenario. I've had it where, oh my God, there's so many things. Our doggy daycare transport van got towed with dogs in it once. Everything was fine. No insurance company had to be called for that. We had dogs that would just scale the fences and jump out and run around in the tent neighborhood. We had a customer, unlock the gate one time to where all the dogs were, and they went running out onto Addison and Southport. My doggy daycare was near Wrigley Field, and we got the dogs, but I was in the middle of the intersection, stopping traffic and things it's crazy. Those weren't necessarily the insurance needed to be called, but Yeah, and business insurance is so important.
Very.
I mean,
I want to clear when I said screw insurance. I didn't mean screw insurance. I meant screw the insurance stories. Yeah. I wanted to hear like the van getting away, getting towed full of dogs.
Yeah,
like there's gotta be some.
I mean, there are angry dogs, right? That if it's the first time you bring a dog to groom,
they may not play well with other dogs.
Then bite an employee, for example. Yeah. The workman's comp.
Yes.
Will cover that.
The employees. So we'd have to go, send them to. We had a pull process where you could go to this kind of urgent care place, and then of course they asked, did this happen at work or not? And if it did, then you had to have protection for that, and so. Yeah, they're live. They're live beings. These animals they scratch and they bite and they pee on you. Even
Candace, were you a fan of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective?
Oh yeah, I guess I haven't seen that in forever. So.
I just watched it with my kids last week. It had been forever too, but I just thought of that.
Yeah, I'll have to.
You talked about a dog being worth $2,500 on the insurance perspective. What about cats? What about like the smaller animals like bunnies?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My pet business was called Dogaholics, so we were all focused on the dogs.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to go back to my community and find out.
$150.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some that are very expensive.
I know.
Yeah.
Never been a cat person. To me, they freak me out. They're very unpredictable. I don't trust them. I get very that's my excuse.
Well, they're really in charge and they're reading your mind.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's something going on. Yeah. And the minute they know you're comfortable and put your guard down, that's when they pounce. Yeah, I don't trust them, not one bit.
So Candace, you said you're starting to invest in commercial real estate, or maybe you've been investing before. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So my husband and I, when we came to this town, we had lunch at Landmark on Seminary and downtown Galesburg. And there's this big empty building. We must have just moved to town when the Dollar General at Main and Seminary had moved out. And the light was on forever in that building. And I was like, why is this vacant building here? And someone needs to do something. And I didn't know who to contact about purchasing it. But we ended up the first day, I think, that the signs went up on that building to rent it out. I contacted the person who was on the sign and asked, if they would be willing to sell it. Mainly because I didn't want another big box going into that space. And I wanted to, and my vision still is, to open up doors and windows along that building. So that's the building that's at the corner of Main and Seminary, for those of you who don't know. And the goal is still to open it up. It's taken longer than expected, mainly because we're not a development company. Right. Mm-hmm. We're just individual people who also do other things for a living and just started our family. But it is coming together. We've actually gutted out a ton of the stuff on the inside. We've fixed the back area, the plumbing and the concrete in the back, and making that ADA compliant. As well as there was like layers and layers of ceilings and AC units that are like things that are not even to code anymore. We had to gut all of that out. So, but we bought that building, and my thought in that was just that if, again, kind of like people are like, why'd you buy it? I'm like, well, why not? We can all complain about things in Galesburg or in Monmouth or wherever you live, right? You can complain about things, but unless you're really going to change, it is a great location, but unless you're going to, do something about it, to change where you live, by raising your hand and saying you're willing to do the work. Right. So we got that location, and we ended up getting it for a steal. It ended up working out in our favor because the guy who owned it had to sell it. And it's like the art of negotiation, right? What we had learned through my whole career really helped in getting that property. And then we were able to secure another property over on Grand. I think it's 1690 Grand. It's like the old Woody's gas station across from the Corral. That's how it gets told to me. It's like a little white building. Yeah. So that we purchased in the tax auction with the county, and then we were able to, it took a while to get the deed and get the tenant.
Is that for sale right now or lease?
No, not yet. That might be. Okay. But we originally.
Everything's
for
sale.
Maybe, yeah. Right. So we have both of these properties. We are looking for tenants. Nobody's secured in them currently. They both have a little ways to go development-wise before someone could take it over. But if anyone's interested, they can reach out to me. So.
Well, I didn't know that you bought so that's so funny and I want to say it was Dina Turner. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it was her. Do you know her?
Not personally, no.
Okay, but someone was telling me, maybe it wasn't her then, but they were like, hey, they were telling me, like, you have to meet this couple that just bought this. I feel like you guys have a lot in common and would get...
Well, hey, nice to meet you then. Great to see you. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was someone, and maybe it wasn't her. That's going to drive me nuts. But someone was like, dude, you got to meet these guys. They're great, and they seem to be, motivated, inspired, and
so
on kind of the same page. So nice to
nice to meet you.
That was you.
Yeah. My husband is he's at the buildings doing a lot of the work and loves to help his neighbors and
good.
What
that's a great location.
Do you have an idea of what type of business would rent that location on Main Street?
So initially I wanted to have some service or some retail kind of boutiques potentially, and then maybe even a restaurant. Right now, everything is so expensive to get anything done. And I think that my original vision, while I thought I knew it would be more than I was expecting, I didn't expect it to come in as high as it would. And so the loan, the volume of money we would need to get a loan and then to even pay a mortgage on that, I don't think we could charge that much rent here in Galesburg. Right. So my ideal was to have the restaurant and have the retail stores. There are people who we've met with who would be interested in taking over the whole building. That hasn't panned out, but we're still open to that idea. So it really depends on as long as the customer is the right fit. One of my big priorities, though, is that I want it to be somebody who's going to bring in high traffic. Like I'm not looking to have an insurance agent have a storefront on Seminary. We need to revive that street by bringing more pedestrians to it.
Yeah, that's good. I think like that.
Yeah,
we got it. I think everyone downtown wants more traffic downtown, especially foot traffic.
Right.
We got plenty of car traffic.
Right. Yeah.
But something to revitalize, keep people walking and going to check. That's how you're going to get people in your other shops, right?
Right.
Even I've lived here I grew up here but moved away. I've been back here for almost 12 years, and I still will sometimes be downtown walking and go, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
I never knew this place was here.
Yeah.
When you're
there are a lot of good things.
You
don't go see it. And there are a lot of good. I know that there's been a change and a shift in some of the stores and the businesses, and there are still some vacancies, and beautification still needs to happen in a lot of things, but there are a lot of really cool businesses downtown still and doing really neat things. And I think the more that they are given opportunities to continue to grow their business and see customers and people find out about downtown Galesburg, I think it can really kind of pick back up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Candace, I think you hit on it earlier. There's enough out here for all of us to win, and that's one thing I love. On anything, even this episode, it can't just be a win for me or a win for Victor and I or just a win for you. Everything out here has to be a win. Otherwise, it's one-sided and someone feels shorted or, But yeah, that's in the business world, especially quite often, we were talking about keep your eyes on your own paper, competition can be a good thing, and I think at the end of the day, there's enough for us to all win, whether it's in real estate or in pets or any business for that feature.
For sure, definitely.
Well, do you have something else you're about to ask? Oh, I was going to say, Candace, this has been an absolute delight. I'm very happy that you were able to come today. And shine a light on just business, but also what you're doing, tell your story, and wish you the best of luck as you continue to grow. And you got a little one that you're going to be taking care of as well, too. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Yeah. It was a great one.
Candace D'Agnolo. Yes. You guys, hey, look her up. She is on Facebook.
So people want to get in contact with you.
Yeah. So
that camera there.
Okay. The best place to learn more about what I do is to go to petboss.com. There you can find ways to get a hold of me. You can also listen to my podcast, which is actually ranked in the top 2% of all podcasts globally. Awesome. So go to petboss.com. Check that out. I have lots of resources, free resources for business owners. And if you are interested in our properties, you can connect with me there too.
Awesome. Good for you. I'm glad I knew you had a podcast. With way to throw that in, top 2%.
Thanks. I'm really proud of that.
We're in the bottom 2 right now. So you better keep an eye out for us. No, but anyway, thank you everyone. It's a Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And that was Candace D'Agnolo. Thank you so much.
See you guys next week.
Check you next week.
Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Candace.
Well, you're not on a podcast platform.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So you
hit the bell.
So you know when the next episode is up.
We appreciate all the support.
Thank you.